Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of our automation series. As you may be able to tell, this is not automation, this is BeamNG.drive. So for those of you who don't know, BeamNG.drive and automation did a partnership a few years ago. Since automation is a car design game but doesn't have any actual driving in it, and BeamNG.drive is a simulation, a really quite detailed car simulation game, and so the two of them partnered up, and so you can export your automation designs to BeamNG.drive. It's exactly what we've done here with our first car of this series. This is our 1946 Loyal, although it's set to release in 1948, and here it's looking pretty good. You can see that it's imported quite well. It's maybe a bit bright for the BeamNG design here, but it's looking pretty cool, pretty slick. A very sort of early 50s car. As we can see, it works. They've got a lot of integration here, so the various lights work, the indicators work. That's just a really nice feature, I find. Very bright headlamps, very, very bright fog lights. Let's see how this thing does. So I've not tried driving this yet. And I just broke the engine. Let's try that again. Some issues there with the engine. So let's see how it goes. For some reason the engine is locking up really very quickly. It's going to take some getting used to. Not sure exactly what's causing that. In automation it was working fine up to 8,000 revs, no issue. Here it seems to be failing about 5,000 revs. Yep, there we go. Hit 5,000 revs and the engine cuts out. I think that's a bit of an issue between automation and BeamNG.drive. There was a warning that there is some issues going around right now. It's a bit of a pity. I will just start again and see if I can keep that under control a bit more. As for the actual handling of this, it's really quite nice. It's a lot smoother than I was expecting it to be. Turns really quite well. Pretty good acceleration. Would probably be better if I could drive it under the conditions it's meant for. Yeah, it's definitely turning well. Let's see how it brakes here. Not too bad at all. It comes to a stop nicely, not too much slippage, and there goes the engine. So, this is very much a driver's car. You have to really watch it, otherwise the engine really fails far too quickly. Let's see what kind of speeds we can get here on the straight. So this is the same test track as is used in automation. Our teams work together to recreate this. Yep, as soon as it hits 5,000 revs, the engine cuts out. So it's a bit of a pity. I'm going to play with the settings just to see if I can stop that happening so we can give this thing a proper test. So after spending far too long trying to fix that, I eventually found the problem. It's an old problem that's been around for a while. BeamNG seems to have some weird settings to do with small engines, ones that are 1 litre under, like our engine, where it sets the friction far too high compared to what automation uses, and so it ends up locking up at relatively low revs. That seems to be fixed now, and we can do this. So putting it right on the red line, it's doing exactly what it should be doing, and that's absolutely fine. So let's take this thing for a proper spin now. So that's definitely getting off the start line really quite easily. Still definitely easy to handle for a 1940s car. And this engine is designed for high revs, so I'm trying to keep it in that high rev zone. Oopsie doops. So yeah, I should probably say that I'm not a good driver. I've never been good at driving games. But it's a lot of fun to take out something you've designed. So I certainly will be using control of this relatively often. Hopefully nothing too bad. A little bit of a bump. Don't seem to have actually taken any damage there. This does have soft body deflation. I did actually knock them back a little bit, so I'll just reset the car. So now let's see what we can do on the straight without the engine causing us issues. Let's push it. 80, 90, 100, 103. Oops. Okay. So we managed 103 on a downhill straight. The car does not turn at 103 miles per hour, so that's good to know. I'm not surprised, to be honest. But this is certainly a nippy little thing. It definitely gets off the mark a lot faster than I would have thought for such a small engine. It is a very light car. Just have to watch my braking without any form of ABS there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to practice a little bit on my own, and then I'm going to jump into a timed session and see how I can do compared to the 3 minutes that the AI in automation got this. So let's see you in a bit. So here we are at the actual test circuit. All lined up and ready, so time to beat is 3 minutes, and I'll just have to see how I do. For my practice, I just have to be very careful with the braking. Brake, the car loses all control, even light braking, so I have to be very careful. But anyway, let's see how I do. So on the test track, on this timed version, there are a few more barricades, so you can't take shortcuts, which is fair enough. Incidentally, I am doing this on an Xbox controller. I don't have any kind of steering wheel or anything like that. So I don't really do a lot of driving games. And There we go, one iffy corner there. For the lack of live commentary at this point, I am very much focusing all my skills on trying to be able to keep this on the road. Alright, let's see if I can survive this. Took that a little bit more cautiously than I needed to. I'll get into a rather sharp turn, so I've got to bleed off some speed again. So driving across dirt is one way to bleed off some speed. And spinning around in circles is another. A very sharp turn up ahead here. That Kill Rob chicane. So braking isn't actually too bad as long as there's absolutely no steering input when you're braking. This thing does like to spin out there. So I have taken some damage. I'll see if I can still get around the car. It is veering to the left now. As we can see, there's rather a lot of body damage to it. Definitely not happy with what I've done to it. Last corner. It's just here. Straight. Battling the car that definitely wants to slam me into the wall. Okay, 3:53, so 53 whole seconds beyond the in-game time. But still, pretty decent. All in all, I'll say it's actually a really quite fun car to drive around. It's nippy, it's actually handles a lot better than I thought it would. So pretty good, definitely for a 1940s car. It's very, very drivable. Anyway, I will now switch back to automation, where we can start trying to sell this thing. See you there. So here we are back in automation. And first thing I'm going to do is deal with this news pop-up here. We are not doing any marketing. That's something we really need to do. Got basically no awareness right now. We need to build that up so that people actually buy the cars. And we've only got 2 years to do that before the Loyal gets released. There's also a note here about safety regulations. When it hits 1950, Helvetia and Farina gets increased safety regulations. So we do need to keep an eye on that. We are putting basic safety, so that should be absolutely fine. But we'll just need to watch that as it goes on. So all our cars need at least safety of 8. I'll just double check that when we put in the first facelift to make sure that by 1950 that's still going to be able to be sold. So here, looking at the awareness screen, what we've got is 5% awareness everywhere. So if I understand this correctly, this means that 5% of the total population are aware of our car brand and will have a chance to actually buy our cars. It's also going up 5% every year, so we'll have 15% by the time the car comes out. That's still not great. We want that to be a lot better. So we're going to go over to the marketing screen. Got a few different things that we can do. So we can advertise various levels or various aspects of our car. So drivability, sportiness, comfort, prestige, safety, practicality, utility, off-road, and fuel economy and reliability. And we can do that for each individual country, and as we saw before, we only have 2 countries available. There are also some special options here that we can pick. So it's a whole load of particular sort of rarer things that we could advertise if, say, we wanted to focus on making SUVs and advertise the fact we've got the best SUVs or the best top speed, or say the best 0 to 100 kilometer time. We can add those, so we'll think about that as we go forward. There's also the overall company marketing here, so we can try and increase our company reputation and increase prestige. So reputation's mostly to do with, are your cars reliable? If your cars keep breaking down, the reputation will go down. Prestige, on the other hand, is just how fancy your cars are. If you're only releasing top high-end cars, and like we're kind of hoping to do, this should go high. If you release everything from a high-end car to a budget car, it stays pretty neutral. If you're only releasing budget cars, the prestige factor goes down. And some buyers don't care, budget buyers don't care. But this is kind of to make that if you're just selling rubbish cars, you can't then come out with an absolutely amazing luxury sports car and expect people to buy it. So just a reminder, our main focus is going to be on Farina. We are thinking a little bit about Hetvasia, but not as much. So let's just double check here. Hetvasia really just care about safety, nothing else other than safety. Farina, on the other hand, remember we want practicality and sportiness. And practicality is not really our strong suit here, but sportiness certainly is, so that's where we're going to be putting a lot of our points. Now right now we're getting 200,000 a month just from interest. So we've got quite a bit that we can spend here without really losing anything. And we're only spending 40 million on the actual car project in total, so we've still got plenty of money there. And I'm happy to make a bit of a loss to begin with, and so I'm also going to put in level 1 company marketing, so people are going to start to learn that our cars are pretty prestigious. I'm going to do the same in Farina. I'm just going to spend less money in Farina, put a little bit into sportiness marketing. And we do have average safety, so for Hetvasia, let's put in a few points into safety, just to drum up some of our interest there. I actually just wanted to double check a couple things, so I went to our actual car here, so this is the light sports model, just to check. So this is comparing our car against the average competitor's car here in these various categories. And so we can see here, yeah, our car, very, very sporty. Right now, other cars are really struggling with that, so advertising sportiness is absolutely fair. Safety, maybe pushing it a bit, but prestige, yeah, we're definitely getting there. Prestige. So practicality is not our best. Mostly that's because we only have 2 seats in this thing, and so really that's not very practical. This is a sports car you take out for fun. This isn't something you drive your family to holiday with. So I think that works out quite well. I'm not sure how it compares in terms of its, say, 0 to 10 speed, or 0 to full speed time. Not entirely sure if or where to get the exact stats. So we do have those times. So here the half-mile time is 18.9 seconds. I don't know how that compares to our competitors. You can pull out information here and see that our agility is actually really, really high. So we might actually think about putting in a little bit of advertising there, especially in Farina. Actually, that could go down quite well. So we've done that, advertising agility very heavily, and that's actually really cheap. It's only costing us a few extra thousand a month for the sake of having a lot of extra advertising. We'll do the same in Ep.2. I don't know how much they care about agility, but we may as well try and push that. But our cars are agile, and imagine you want an agile car going around the mountains of essentially Switzerland there. Whereas now we're just going to let this simulation run. There's not much else for us to do other than wait until 1948 to roll around and see how this car does coming out the starting gate. I just wanted to briefly pause this here just at the end of the first year, just to bring up something that's really neat that came in one of the latest patches, is car pre-orders. So some people are actually buying these cars even though they're not going to be out for a few years. So we are making about £100,000 or $100,000 a month on the loyals, and we can see here these are the orders. We've got 43 orders for light sports and 35 orders for the convertible version. We can also see current stats here, so these are still very competitive right now, and we've got decent affordability here. We've got average competitor prices there compared to ours. That'll be a bit more easy to read once these come out. Also got our month of stock here, so this is going to take us 0.8 months of stock of factory time to actually fill these pre-orders, but that's not going to be too bad at all. And so here we can see I did get a bit confused before. It seemed that our year-on-year interest was increasing very rapidly. That's just because that was the initial state where it puts everything on a 5% minimum. Here we can see that our year-on-year increase is now 2.3 thanks to our advertising campaigns. And actually looking at this, there is no point advertising in Ep.2. They are not interested in either light sports cars or sports convertibles. So I'm just going to go in and fix that quickly, cancelling our Freenia advertising entirely. So I may as well leave the agility on there, just in case it increases a little bit, because apparently that is absolutely free to do. Okay, so here we are back, and the Loyal has just released. You can see that a couple of things have happened here. So the desirability stats are well down from where they're predicted to be. Well, that's okay. The reason for this is simply that competitor cars have also been released. The game does simulate competitors in the background. As of the current build, you can't really see them too well, but it does simulate them. There is a whole big file of the cars the competitors will release, your cars are competing against. And so before, we're getting these really big stats because we were competing against things that had been out previous to 1945. Now we're competing against the new cars, so we do keep on having to update these. These numbers are still good. The light sports are still fantastic, although the affordability has gone down, so clearly some competitors have released some cheaper cars in that market. Equally, the price of the convertible sports gone down a fair bit, and the desirability is shot way down. So someone's released some kind of fancy convertible that's eating up that market. Still, that's not too bad. Still getting decent enough numbers that we should be able to be selling to some of these demographics. You see we are delivering models already, and we're making a decent profit. So right now we're getting $1 million a month, which is certainly a decent return on investment. Now, we don't just want to sit here. So before long, more competitors will be releasing things. Our car's going to get more and more out of date. But that also doesn't mean we need to completely start again, sort of redesign the wheel. So we're going to be adding a trim to this. And before I forget, I'm also going to take a look at the research and development screen just to see what's coming along. So right now we're not spending anything on research and development. We are getting some bonuses based on the funding that we put in to begin with, the bonuses we gave ourselves at the start. So we can see here we're really good at engines, really good at aerodynamics, well ahead of the curve, and we're just average on everything else. Now I could put in money, adding to these to boost that up. It would take a while for it to start to increase. We could certainly spend a little bit of money there. Problem with boosting any areas that we're already good at is they become prohibitively expensive. Boosting some of the areas we're behind might not be a bad idea. But for now, I think we're going to leave this, save a little bit of money, maybe aim towards these at a later date. For now, we can see what we've got with unlocked aluminium engine architecture. I don't think that's worth designing a new engine for. I think our engine works fine. We've got 2-barrel fuel system, but we would have had that before, because remember we were 3 years ahead. And we've got reversed flow exhaust. We might look into adjusting our engine to have that in, especially on the fancy model. Otherwise, not too much has come out. We're getting monocoque chassis in 1951, and that might be quite useful. You can also check the car bodies. This is the ones that have released so far, and so we've not got any new car bodies. We got new ones in 1949, 1950, 1955, and so I don't think there's any point at all designing a new car, so let's just give our existing one a facelift. So to do that, we go to this screen and we go to new car facelift. We want to update both of our existing versions. I'm also going to go into the engine before I adjust the car and just see if there's anything that we can do to tweak the engine a little bit. This is going to be our 1-litre 48 variant. And that was just a warning to say that this is going to mess with the current production, but that's fine. We'll just make sure that this completes at the same time as the facelift of the car. So one thing I'm interested in is the reverse flow. This gives us a lot more dampening, which makes the car, or the engine, quite a lot quieter and doesn't do too badly for other things. It's a little more expensive to put in, actually increases performance ever so slightly, makes it a little heavier. I think it's probably worth it just for that notable drop in loudness. Otherwise, I'm just going to play around with these settings, see if I can increase this at all. So we've got 61 horsepower right now, see if we can get a little bit more. So we've not really done too much to the engine. Just bumped up couple of the quality sliders, since if we're going to be changing things with the body, may as well take some time to improve the engine. So we've got slightly better fuel system, slightly better exhaust system along with the reverse flow, and that just leads us to have ever so slightly more expensive engine. We're getting much better loudness factor, and so hopefully this will improve the comfort of the car. So the light sports, I'm going to do the same thing, just see what I can play around with, and I'll get back to you afterwards. Got the car on hold so we can compare the before and after versions of the car. So here we are, I've not edited too much. Most of the bonuses come from balancing the wheel brakes a little bit better. But otherwise, we've still got pretty good stats compared to the old version. It's a little more sporty, a little bit more prestige, a little bit better fuel economy. So the cost of utility, which really isn't important for us, we don't care about people transporting things. And it's a tad more expensive, really not that much to worry about. And this is it compared to the old car with the old engine. And so you can see we've got a lot of improvements just kind of across the board here. And so this is looking like a pretty good upgrade. Better comfort, better prestige, better sportiness. These are all the fields we want to be hitting. So I'm pretty happy with that. It's not a groundbreaking facelift, but it's pretty decent. So now we want to do the same thing with the convertible sport. So again, I'll play around with a few of the settings and get back to you afterwards. So I've got a fair bit of a bigger change on the convertible version. Here I think it's worth spending a little bit more time and money improving the quality of the interior. The convertible market really likes that prestige, and this really helps boost that. We've only lost about 2% of the affordability. We've gained a huge amount of the competitiveness. It's going to take a bit of engineering time to get that done, but this is putting it around about how long it's going to take to figure out the new engine system. So hopefully that will work out quite well. And now it's time to put both of those into production. I have just double checked, and our car factory is actually over subscribed. It is at the maximum shifts that it can be. So we don't really want that. And so I think it's going to be worth upgrading car factory. This is going to take a total of 6 months to change over instead of 3 months. So we're spending an extra 3 months not building anything, but then we're effectively doubling the amount of cars that we're producing, and I think that's going to be worth it. Cost of 5 million really isn't too bad. So here on the engineering screen, I've just tweaked a few settings here. I'm targeting a 2-year exchange of this facelift, so I was able to increase the reliability while cutting down on the funding quite significantly. So cutting down on the funding cuts down the amount of money we're spending by a lot. It doesn't change the timings too much. So 2 years, and that gives us a little bit more reliability on these cars. Now just before, we have to do this with the engines. And as we saw last time, even though we're upgrading this car factory, the engine factory really isn't having any issues, so it should be able to fill the requirements, no bother at all. Again, with the engine factory, I was able to increase the reliability a bit more and cut funding. Still got 24 months. I could certainly get the research done shorter than that, considering we're going to spend 6 months of downtime just retooling and upgrading the factory. I do want to be producing some cars before then to be able to cover the backlog at least a little bit. And so here we are with our new version. We're looking at some very nice predicted profits here. So our profits dip as we're taking new factories online because we're not producing any cars, but then it just starts to spike after that as the new factories come online. Again, these numbers are going to vary. Desirability is going to go down. We do have really huge profit margins here on both the cars, and so it's looking really quite good right now. Light Sport is still the one we're going to be making the most money on, so it's time to sign those off See here that the cars, the engines, sorry, are 24 months, and so are the cars to design. Car factory's coming off for 4 months. I'm not sure why that's down from the predicted 6 months, but that's absolutely fine. And again, could take out a loan. Really don't think we need it for 9 million, considering how much we have. So we're just going to sign off on this. Most of that expense is the new factory. So here I'm just going to let time play until we hit 1950, where this new version gets released. So we've just been interrupted here with our first event. So we've had a small quality issue. So in this case, there's a small error in the engines, and there's a very high chance people are going to work this out. We've released a lot of engines here. So this looks like it could be quite costly. So we could do a full recall, which will cost us 1.87 million up front, and it's going to damage our reputations. We go out and tell everyone, yep, we screwed up. But if it's discovered, then there's really not that any issues. We're being completely upfront by it. Can do a quiet recall, which is a bit cheaper. There is no definite loss of reputation. There will be reputation loss if people figure it out. And importantly, we'll take a big hit to our prestige. Or we can just ignore the whole thing. The problem there is if people discover it, and they probably are going to discover it, that's really going to hit us, both in reputation and prestige. So really, I would prefer to just do a full recall. We want high quality products. Looking at the chances of being discovered, I really don't want to take a hit to our prestige, so I'll just take a little hit to our reputation. So here we go, 1950 has just rolled around, and the Mark II version has exited engineering. And light sport is still really very popular there. And not too surprising, it's very affordable. Everybody can afford this in the categories it's selling into. Even though it's quite expensive, it is a lot cheaper than a regular sports car, so people are still happily buying it. And it's still really attractive. Definitely the light sports version, it's selling very well. Convertible sports, on the other hand, this is lagging behind now. Really doesn't have that high a desirability ratio, not that high in affordability. We are still selling cars into that market. And both factories are working full out. Just taking a look at our research, in 11 months we get the monocoque chassis, which will be interesting to look at. We also get 4-wheel drive options, new fuel systems. So I'm thinking that in 11 months it's probably going to be worthwhile to go and design a new car. So I'm just going to let time pass until we get to these markers, and then we can end the episode and we can design that next time. So here we are, and just to kind of recap where we've got to, the cars are currently earning 2.3 million in profit every single month, doing really well off the back of those sales. Again, a lot of this is coming from the light sports. We are still selling into the convertible sports market. These figures don't look great, but we are actually selling there quite well. Looking at awareness, it's increased very nicely. We're up to 15% in the categories we want it to be in. So that's looking excellent. And as it's 1951, we do start to get some new cars on board. So I think next time we'll be coming back to this and perhaps looking to either design a quite significant facelift to the Loyal, or possibly designing a new car. Right, that's all for this time. So if you enjoyed, as always, like, subscribe. If you would like to have a car named after you, just need to join the Discord down below. And if you want to support the channel, as you may have seen in some other videos, I've recently released 3 novels, and so if you purchase those, it goes to keeping me well and fed, and that lets me continue making these videos. Anyway, until next time, don't forget to have fun. Cheers.